can go back and do this one. I just wanted you to have at least this example because I don't believe there are any slope with fractions on the review itself. And then we'll start going through each page. Any questions you want to see, go over, have questions about, we can go through those before you guys take your quiz. Anyone still writing this up? So let's go section by section. Any questions 1 through 3? What is number 1, please? Number 1. So remember that you're counting your slope, rise over run, rise over run. So up and down first, then left or right. They have 2 points, but if you don't see 2 points, find 2 points that cross the grid lines exactly. And then we're going to count either down and to the right or up and to the left, either or. So how many units did we go down? 6. Not quite, but close. So down 5. And to the right, how many? 2. So that would give us a -5 over 2. If it can be simplified, simplify it. But if not, leave it as is. Always put it as a fraction. For 2 and 3, remember your Hoylux. If you want to write that along any type of problem you see that's horizontal or vertical, you can do that. So you remember what that means. I'm going to write it up to the side. Horizontal lines have 0 slope. And our y equals. Vertical lines have undefined slope. And our x equals. So if you remember what those mean and put that next to it, then you can determine slope, how to graph it, things like that. Questions on 2 or 3? Not this 4, but the new 4 you just put in. Questions on 4 or 5? Which one? 4. Is that what you were going to say? Right. So remember that regardless if it's fraction or not, you're still using your formula y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So if you want to, also, if you need more space to do this, you can grab extra paper. If you want to label them first, you can do that. And then we'll start putting them in the format. So y2 would be -2/3 minus y1, which is 3/4, all over x2, which is 3/4, minus a -2/3. So in this case, you'll need to get common denominators for both the numerator piece and the denominator piece. So that would become 8/12 minus 9/12 over 9/12. This would really become a plus. You can still put it as minus or plus, either or. 8/12. Okay. So simplified, we would get -1/12 over 17/12. At this point, you can either put this in your calculator. Remember that you would have to do fraction, and then in the top, another fraction, and in the bottom, another fraction. Or you can take the denominator, flip it, and multiply it to both the denominator and the numerator. The entire denominator is going to become 1. The 12s here are going to cancel, and you'll be left with just negative 1 over 17. If you're doing it by hand, I would go back and put it in the calculator just to double check, did I do this correctly? Which is what I'm going to do. So alpha y equals, and then I'm going to do it 2 more times. And then put in negative 1 over 12 and 17 over 12. Negative 117 was our answer, so that is correct. Make sure you're putting equals m or m equals. Questions on that one? Did we need to see 5 or want to see 5? As you're doing it, notice that if you have the same x or y variables, you're going to get a horizontal or vertical line, so 0 or undefined will be your slope. Right. Questions with 6 through 9? Sophia.
The fraction if it's 0 over a number that undefined is
that is 0. So zero divided by anything is 0. But the other way is undefined. Because you can't divide by 0. Virginia. If these are the same, so this would be negative 2 minus 7 over negative 11 minus negative 11. So if the x's are the same, you're going to get undefined. So if the y's are the same, then your slope is 0. And I forgot that. Questions on 6 through 9? Right, so for 9, you have to get it in slope-intercept form first, and then say what the y-intercept and slope are. How would we do that for this? Subtract x on both sides. Go ahead and switch the placement of 2 and negative x. So negative 2y equals negative x plus 2. And then to everything. So y equals, this would become positive 1 over 2 x minus 1. What is your slope? What is your y-intercept in that problem? Landon?
The y-intercept is negative 1 and the slope is 1 over 2.
Right. Remember that slope's variable is m, the y-intercept's variable is b. Bless you. Okay. Other questions in 6 through 8 before we move to the next page? Otis? 27 through 8, please. We could do, yeah, sure. 6 is more of a writing, which we're not doing, but if we're writing this equation, it would be y equals 1x or just x minus 7. For 7, though, we have to figure out what is our m, what is our b. those things. You can just leave it simplified, -3. Otis, you already memorized. Okay, go on to the next page. Questions on 12 or 13? Okay, so we have this equation here, or we have this graph here. We need to see which of these matches. So looking at just the graph, we know it's going to have a y-intercept of 4 and a slope of, let's see, down to, -1/2. So whatever we do, whatever we solve, has to end up at one of those two. You may end up doing all of them. You may end up just doing one, figuring out a pattern. It depends. Alright, so let's start with this first one. If we are solving this for y, we would subtract x. So y equals -2x plus 4. Right y-intercept, wrong slope. Because b is similar, you would be subtracting and then just dividing a negative. That wouldn't get us -1/2. It's going to be c or d. Let's try c. We have 2y equals -x plus 8. Divide everything by 2. So y equals -1/2 x plus 4. Does that match? So if it didn't, then D would obviously be our answer. But it does, so that is our answer. 13 is the same way. Okay. We're going to skip over 14 and 15 because those are dealing with x and y intercepts, and we already did that. Questions on 16 or 17? Regina. If not, go on to the next page. Questions on 1 or 2? Three or 4? So for our slope, we're doing that same thing, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label them if you need to. We have -2 minus a -2 over 3 minus 13. What happens in our numerator? So we're on 0. So it really doesn't matter what the denominator is. You can still do it, but our answer is going to be 0 no matter what. Questions on 5 or 6? The 0 isn't in the denominator. If no questions on 5 or 6, go on to the next page. And then 9 and 10 are like the ones we've done before, but it's really trying to see can you convert and write the equation of the line. So we'll just look at 7 or 8 questions on those two. For 8, we need to convert this first. Get rid of x by subtracting. Negative y equals negative x plus 3. Divide everything by negative 1. If you don't do that, you'll end up with the wrong answer. So then y equals x minus 3. Which of these graphs match that answer? Say that again. Whoever said that. See. We have a negative 3 y-intercept. Our slope is up 1, right 1. C is right. On the next page, 11 and 12 are intercept stuff again. 13, you would have to convert all the ones that are not, but that's also more of an intercept thing. So questions on 14 or 15. Regina. For 15, if this is an x equals, thinking of your 4 bucks, what is the slope of the line? Under 5. So that's something you need to know and remember. Notice that the negative 5 is there as an answer to trick you. And then I think this back page is the exact same one we did one of the other last class. So we can go over more of these, but I also gave you another one, so if you want to go over those instead, we can do that, either or. So this one is the separate sheet. This one is the one that's connected. So of the two, do we have questions on either we want to see, go over, have questions about? Linda. Number 3. So for number 3, on the separate sheet, if we're comparing these two equations, was the graph or the function of g of x shifted up or down? Think about what that means, which one it's referring to. Otis. What is this referring to? Positive or negative, what? Is it talking about the slope or the y-intercept? Y-intercept. So if it's comparing the y-intercept, did this shift up or did it shift down? Shifted down. Right? And then for the next one, steeper or less steep? Is 1/5 steeper or less steep than 1? Notice. Is 1/5 greater than 1? No. So it's less steep. Remember, if it's a fraction and it's not improper, bless you, it's going to be less steep. Right? Steeper and less steep is your slope. Shifted up, shifted down is your y-intercept. If your slope is negative, then it's reflected. Other questions on either of these sheets we want to see, go over, have questions about? Sheila? Number 2. Okay. So we need to describe and regraph this line. So if I have some function that's being added by 2, what happened? What changed? What shifted up to? Y-intercept shifted up to. So from the origin, we can go up to. what happened to the slope? It stayed the same. That means whatever the slope of this original line is, that's what we're going to do for this one. So we're going up one, right one, so do that all the way across. And then opposite way, down one, left one. There weren't a whole lot of actual graphing examples in the review, but remember, as you were graphing them, start at your y-intercept, then do your slope. Other questions on either page? If no other questions, go ahead and clear off your desk, except for your calculators.